All right, everyone, we're here at RLA 2023. I have a couple heavy hitters with me. These gentlemen got off the keynote not too long ago, so I know they have some information to impart with us. I have Dale Rogers and I have Mr. Zach Rogers as well. Is there a relation there, gentlemen?
Yeah. He's my...
Happily married 20 years.
He's my oldest son. Yeah.
Ah, I see. I got you. Very nice.
So.
The apple does not fall far from the tree, as I can see. All right, so let's get into it. Just some basics. So why are you here? Why'd you come to RLA?
Well, I'm here truthfully. I mean, I've been working in reverse logistics. I wrote one of the very first books about it back in the 90s, and I'm here because Tony asked me to come. That's really the reason. So I actually haven't been to RLA in probably 15 years, and it's really amazing what it's like this year. Tony's really made it go a long ways from what it used to be. It's really impressive.
And we're basically still kind of coming right off, not too far off the heels of COVID as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's nice to see it go.
I was born into it, I guess. I was riding my skateboard around the driveway as he was writing that book. I remember vividly seeing him do it at the top of the driveway.
I was sitting in the garage.
Yeah, but I, other than working in supply chain and teaching it, I was a returns manager for Amazon for a few years before I came back to school. So I've kind of seen the actual, okay, open the box. What's going to be?
Jeez.
What can we do with this thing? There's weird stuff, by the way, that they send back to Amazon.
Like not the same items?
Oh, yeah. No, we were getting people's like car keys and all kinds. Someone sent their kid's toys back, and the kid was mad, so he put his dad's keys in there. It's like, well, I don't know what we do with these. And, but beyond that, I teach it, and so I've thought about it for a long time. So for me, and I think for anybody who's interested in reverse logistics and returns, why wouldn't you be at RLA?
Why wouldn't you be, right? We're in Vegas, we're, rubbing elbows with people in our industry. What's the goal? I know why you're here, but is there a real goal,
Well, I came, I think we have something interesting to talk about. It's great to see my son, of course, who lives in a different state than I do. I'm in Arizona, he's in Colorado. But I'm really came because Tony said, hey, you got me started. I got Tony started in reverse logistics, and so he said, could you show up? And so I said yes.
You said, I'll be here.
Yeah.
That's nice. So I see you guys are basically in many ways like the backbone of our industry, it sounds like. You're kind of a pioneer, if you will, and then, due to a little amazing nepotism, now we continue it a little bit. Let's get on to this topic a little bit. I know you guys were discussing holiday returns. Obviously, it's not really a holiday yet, but it's never too early to prepare.
Well, we're still actually in the holiday returns phase.
Yeah.
So really what happens is the returns really come, for the most part, in January, a little bit in February, but we're near the end of that period because the big surge, as everyone knows, in retail is fourth quarter, which is October, November, December,
right.
And then the returns really hit now, January, February.
So this is we're swimming in it. This is it.
We did.
Yeah.
Well, and we estimated the size of holiday returns for 2022, the year we're just coming off of, and it's $336 billion, which is about 1.5% of GDP, right? So 1.5% of all U.S. GDP.
How do we know those
just
numbers?
Returns.
Aren't companies sometimes mum about their returns?
They are, but when you're looking at something so macro, you can make some pretty good assumptions. Because what companies will do is they'll hide their own returns, but they have no problem telling you, well, but in the general electronics industry, here's the returns. You know what I heard that they do. And so you can piece together a reasonable return rate for all these different industries, which we did. And then you look at where the retail sales are coming. And then on top of that, what we've had to do the last couple times we've done this is factor in e-commerce, because e-commerce tends to be, and this is one of the reasons why this conference is so important, tends to be 2-3 times higher level of returns than brick and mortar retail, right? You go into the store and you're like, okay, I'm going to buy a pair of shoes. I know I'm 12 maybe? 12?
Yeah, 19 or something, whatever my huge foot is.
Yeah, okay. So,
12.
It's
a 12. You nailed it,
okay,
actually,
so I'm at 11. I wasn't that far off.
That was good.
But it's like, so you go in, you're like, I'm going to try it on. Maybe sometimes, because Adidas, they're a little tighter than Nikes, right? And I've been there. You're like, maybe I'll try an 11.5 and a 12. And if you're in the store, you try it on, you see exactly what you need. If you're buying it online, well, they have a free returns policy. Why don't I get both? One will come to my house, and then I'll send the other one back.
Guilty, man.
Yeah. And so that's why it's 2 to 3 times higher. And so we then, once we have our multiplier, okay, here's electronics. Now let's put some multiplier on it and say, okay, we know that 18% of that this year was e-commerce. So let's say, okay, instead of 10, it's 20. And then from there, you can get to this $336 billion.
So it's a big amount. Is that because we sold more stuff, or is it because people want less and just want to send more stuff back?
It's both. It's
Okay.
both. We had a relatively robust rate of spending this year for the holidays. Now, December was down, but that's misleading because really the holiday season starts now in like October,
earlier. Yeah, way
right? Because people
earlier. Yeah.
spread it out, right? There's multiple Prime Days, there's Black Friday, there's Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
All this stuff is happening, and so really it's not Black Friday anymore, it's Black Fall. And so you're dealing with returns coming all the way down.
That's wild. Wild stuff. Let me ask you about this. What about, kind of parlays off exactly what you're saying, what about the customer attitudes when it comes to returning? Is it evolving? Is it changing? What is it? What are they?
You know what's interesting too? Well, because of e-commerce and so on, there has been change in return rates, but you can go back to the 40s and the return rates are 1940s. The return rates are not that different than they are in 2022, 23. So consumers are certainly willing to return stuff in the U.S. It's obviously very different depending on what country you're in. But in the U.S., consumers are very comfortable returning things. And it actually, and I think this is important, actually one of the main reasons that the United States has the most dynamic retail sector in the world is because it's very low risk to purchase. Because if you purchase something that doesn't work, that you didn't like, whatever, it's no risk to return it. And it's one of the big reasons why our retail sector is much better than in a lot of other countries. So obviously there's evolution, but mostly things aren't that different than what they used to be. E-commerce is different, and that's different. But in general, consumers are very comfortable returning, and they kind of think of it as a right.
I feel that. And there's also the whole right to repair thing. That's a whole separate issue. Here's a question I have for you. We didn't discuss any of this before. What do you think, as far as the different attitudes as different regions having amongst returns, U.S. versus other markets, do you think that the U.S. embracing returns more and having a more liberal policy, does it lead to net more profit? Does it lead to net gain, or is it just the same and it just raises satisfaction?
It does, because you're more likely to go buy a pair of shoes if you know, okay, I can try the two pairs.
That's what I would think.
Exactly, right? And then here's the other part of that. So you're talking about other markets. So Europe's going to be a little tighter, but one of the places where the U.S. ability to do returns really impacts the world is in the third world.
Okay.
Because we generate overstocks, returns, and they go other places. I don't know if you've ever gone to another country and seen them wear a t-shirt that says, the other team won the Super Bowl or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
All kinds of stuff goes around the world. And it's not just because of our level of returns, but also the level of overstocked inventories, which come because of consumer appetites. We never know how much to produce for all of us, right? And so that goes all around the world. And so there's actually a social good when you look at other places because of all of the inventory generated here. So
good stuff,
net,
man.
it's gonna be more profitable, because here's the thing. If it wasn't more profitable, then why would Walmart and Amazon and Target be so liberal with their returns
That's
policies?
True.
They
or
do
Nordstrom, or good Lord, or some of these are insane.
Actually, let me tell you a really old story that I love. So, Kemmerer, Wyoming. It's a town about the size of this big room here. It's tiny. And back in the early part of the 20th century, there was a young guy named James Cash Penney. And he had a general store, J.C. Penney. He had a general store in Kemmerer, Wyoming, of all places. And his innovation was cash and carry. So instead of putting it on a bill, you paid cash, but no problem returns. Like you want to return it for whatever reason, we'll take it back. Now, think about the likelihood of a general store emerging out of Kemmerer, Wyoming to be, for a while, the largest chain in America. What drove that? Well, his cash flow, but also the fact that there was no risk. And that's something that we've had here in the U.S. that's been incredibly dynamic, and it's much more risky to buy something in a place where you're not really allowed to return it. So that actually spurs retail activity. And I know retailers don't like returns, and they keep trying to figure out ways to change their return policies. But the truth is that the old hand retailers really know that transferring risk from the consumer to themselves has been a brilliant strategy.
What about the data, and what about privacy and security as far as customers go, and as this whole thing go, or even businesses? Or, we have a lot of hands in one pot, sharing product, do all this. How do you keep data safe?
So if you walk around the exhibit hall here, you'll actually see there's a number of companies.
Cybersecurity.
There's a number of companies here whose expertise is, we'll take your old electronics and we'll clean it up. Your old computer, your Apple Watch, your phone, we'll get all your data off. And that's not important just
history. Yeah.
Exactly. That's not we don't need that. That's not important just for you, it's also important for your employer. 2/3 of all cyber attacks now come through some third party. And so let's say you're a contractor and you have, your password keychain on your watch or your phone, and you use it to service all of your clients. Right? Oh, this is my login into their system. If they can pull that off, now there's cyber attack possibilities all over the place. That's actually exactly how the Equifax hack happened. Is some third-party contractor, they got his phone, and then 140 million credit cards got stolen. And so this kind of data security, not just on the micro level, obviously you don't want everyone seeing all your pictures, whatever, but on the macro level, it's important for these companies to maintain their data management because data is now so dispersed all over the world.
Definitely, yeah. So get with the cybersecurity, some kind of solution, and get on that. Very, very important. And then customers will trust you more with their data as well. Let's do this. You might just be sort of the original pioneer of reverse logistics. You guys know that? This man just may be the pioneer of reverse logistics. You wrote a book in 1999, you mentioned it before, it's called Going Backwards, Reverse Logistics. We were founded in 2002, that's only 3 years later. Does that make you the original pioneer?
I don't know if it makes me, but one of the things that I was really lucky. So at the time, the largest reverse logistics company was a company called Genco, and they were looking for a professor to research this new topic, and they found me and said, "Hey, do you feel like writing a book?" And so I thought it was going to be a 6-month assignment, and then I'd be done with it forever. And it's almost 30 years later. That was 1996, and it's almost 30 years later, and I'm still working on it, and even the next generation is working on it. So it's interesting how much has changed, but also how much has not changed. So it's been a really fun thing.
Anything you take out? Would you take out anything? And would you put anything in? That's
no. I would put more. I would probably, one of the things that we've discovered since we wrote the book. We wrote about the secondary market and that it was important, but until you were working with me in the 2000s, we didn't really know. Actually, Zachary had to spend his New Year's Eve 2008 up in my lab at the university working.
I was 21 that year, which is how you dream it goes.
So he was
dad at the
university, working on the secondary market, and what really we discovered. I mean, we knew it was important, but it's a huge percentage.
It is. It's this year, $714 billion is the value of the secondary market, because that's
And
also
that's conservative.
overstocks.
That's conservative.
We're low on that. And that, whereas we talk about the holiday return a second ago was 1.5%, the secondary market's 3% of GDP.
Wow.
That $714 billion just in secondary market, that's greater than the GDP of many of the countries in the world.
One of the things that has changed during my career in reverse logistics has been that the secondary market network in the US, but at other places too, has dramatically evolved. So because it's such a large percentage of US GDP, until 2020, it was larger, the secondary market was larger in the US than all of e-commerce. That changed in 2020 with the pandemic and so on, but it's a huge thing. And the network that has been built based on profit motives, not just being good people, but if you look at the network, the outlet malls, the value-priced retailers, so the folks like,
Dollar stores are the fastest growing stores in the country.
Dollar stores.
Dollar Tree,
if you look at that network of secondary markets, because of the profit that is inherent in that, we built this amazing system that acts as a drain on stuff that didn't sell, and that is another vibrant part of the U.S. retail sector. It's kind of a cool story. So that's been a huge change that weirdly not a lot of people are studying, but there's a lot of folks here that are secondary market folks, liquidators, etc.
It might be time for a second book, is what I'm thinking.
I don't know.
Might be time to get the get the pen going.
Yeah.
Might be good. We may need it in our industry.
Yeah.
Dale, Zach, appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you. Yes.
Really appreciate you guys.
Thanks so much.
Everyone, thanks for watching this. We appreciate you joining us here at RLA in Vegas, and we're in person. We're having a good time. We hope to see you guys next year. Cheers.